there are lots and lots of insights which are normally not written in scholarly works. We know that scholarly works of any discipline are rather sterile. They are written in very run-of-the-mill language, extremely careful. So often the real truths are hidden there. But Seneca has had the freedom of writing to the general public, and he has written stuff as they happen, as he saw them. So that adds to the value of the book. I do not plan to go chapter by chapter. Initially I thought first two chapters and the last two are going to be extremely valuable for scholars. Easy reference of what went on, particularly in System C. That was in my usual style. The first, I have a habit of flipping through the pages very fast before I go through the whole book. And then when I started reading, I suddenly found the real gems are in the middle part of the book, where all these anecdotes start coming up. The early days when Seneca walked into System C, when it was still in jungle, for me, it was like this slow motion movie, of course playing backwards, because I visited System C in 1979 when none of the roads had been opened. One of the stories he mentions there about the people in Hennanigala. I was asked to go to System C and visit the people in Hennanigala because this huge story about leprosy and whether it will dissuade from new settlers going in there, for me to check it out. Now I also went out with a certain degree of trepidation because what I had heard of leprosy wasn't that pleasant. Anyway, the person who in System C, if I remember right, it was someone who worked with Ravi. You were in Mahayangana at that time, Minipe, right? Yeah, so one of your people took me deep into the jungle. We went in two jeeps, one with the the cactus and the udallas in case you can't get across, and the other jeep and a couple of others. Now it was a remarkable experience. I was taken to the house of the unofficial Arachi of the Hennanigala people. Now this gentleman also had obvious signs of leprosy, had suffered from it, but I was then told before going there that is no longer communicable. They are properly treated, although they do carry those scars and all that. Now this gentleman, in the usual style of Purana villagers, asked me about my name, where do I come from, and so on. And having asked, suddenly he got quite activated, and he said, I think you are from Kandy, and I think you are from somewhere in Patadumbara. So I said, yes, I am. How do you know? And what is the connection? Because what I was told was that these villages were isolated for over a century. No one had gone there. And he said then, sir, I'm likely to be a kinsman of yours. My name is Veerasundara Mudiyansalage. I can't remember the exact name, Kiribanda or Tikiribanda, from little north on the Colombo Road. What is the place called? Just before Gannoru, when you go to Kandy, that village. And there are people who ran away from the colonial administration and the cruelty with which the 1818 rebellion was suppressed. So they had to go deep into the jungle and hide. And Seneka's book also has references, and Seneka also identifies that part of the history. So I don't want to tell you every little bit, because then I'll take the fun out of the reading. But at the time I used to meet Seneka, before PMU, we were very young people, and we had our share of fun. When Seneka rang me to remind that is happening today, you better make sure they are on time, I said, Seneka, am I allowed to narrate some of those old stories? He said, Machan, nothing doing. You're not supposed to say any one of them. But I'll tell you one of them. Once when I went to System C, he was stationed there. I was going in one of these Mitsubishi Jeeps, the green colored Mitsubishi Jeeps. What are those Jeeps? J44? J44. Yeah, one of those J44s. And I had to go with Seneka to see something. I forget what it was. So we had a driver. I sat in the middle, and Seneka sat on the door, where the door is, on the extreme left. As we were driving along, suddenly Seneka said, Machan, stop. I said, why? There was a man on the side of the road to see a Japanese. He said, me Japanawa dagane anno na. I said, all right, enan Japanawa dagamu kela. Now, Japana didn't have any other place to sit. In the J44 Jeeps, the rear seats are sideways, right? So the Japana had to get into one of the sideways seats, and we went somewhere where there were no proper roads. It was very, very difficult for the man. Now, I was feeling sorry. So I asked Seneka, Macam me Japana ki ilata kadna dannet naha neda kiyala. Then Japana taps on my shoulder and said, me Japana to hondata purudui me parawala gilla. To find the Japanese young gentleman was a volunteer who was serving in System C, and he had learned Sinhala quite fluently by that time. That I think is the only story which can be permitted for this audience. So I will stop with stories there. But Seneka again in his in several places, also in the last page, he refers to the electricity, the water supply, etc., given by Mahavali, and today people use them without even knowing where they came from. The enormous contribution made to Sri Lanka by Mahavali project. He doesn't mention, but he gives enough evidence of the enormous amount of knowledge in a whole range of different disciplines generated by Mahavali project. Seneka's speciality is settlement planning. Many of those lessons learned there, if someone takes the trouble, can be used to extreme effect, positive effect in other resettlement work which are being carried out today. One story he talks about where Minister Gamini Disanayake, who was the minister then, had to change his plan for the resettlement of the Adivasi community. He mentions there. And the little insight you get from that, I think, can be used to great impact and effect by today's settlement planners. You may not consider what's being done as settlement planning, but all the slum relocation work also requires enormous amounts of settlement planning. Now, the story about how the minister from Colombo could understand the concern of the Adivasis of being shifted from their traditional areas to a new area to engage in agriculture, a vocation they had had no experience in, the minister then understood. I wonder to what extent we understand those today when we do urban resettlements. So that's about settlement planning. My own field at that time was agricultural economics, and my entire understanding of that field came from Mahaveli. I did my PhD research on Mahaveli in System H. Many today world-renowned architects and town planners had their initial training on the job in Mahaveli zones, from System H to C to B to A and all that. Civil engineers, irrigation engineers, electrical engineers, educationists, people who work on the various cultural aspects, sociologists. And that body of knowledge still exists here. It needs to be brought out by work like this. And I think, although many of them, those who benefited and learned, are now having whatever the remaining hair, all grey, where they have some hair left. But still, I guess, in some ways, their expertise can be usefully utilized. Now, one last thing I also want to mention. Our dream at that time was to create planned settlements which will, in many ways, perpetuate as they are from generation to generation.